Hey, welcome back. And thank you for joining us today. This is going to be our first episode recording a podcast style, if you will, where we talk shop, talk about certain topics, I guess, that we have prepared for everyone. But before we do that, let's get into some intros. So you guys know me. My name is Will. I do the deck tech videos for the channel, and I identify as Mono Black, Demir, and Esper. But I am joined today by a couple of my colleagues here. You guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
What's up? I'm TY. I identify as Green, Golgari, then Timur, and I do also enjoy a good dose of jank in my bills.
How about you, Bob? How are you doing?
Hi everybody. I'm Bob. I identify as white, Boros, and what did I say again?
Mardu.
Mardu. There we go. Mardu is like it's hard to remember. Like, oh, what color did I say this time?
Yeah.
And I like doing big stuff. I'm more of a Timmy and the psychographic. So it's like I like to do the big plays, big splashy plays. So if it's a jank that's expensive, and like mana cost wise, I'm probably playing it.
Love it, love it. Yeah, you were thinking, what do I play beyond Boros? It's just always mono white or Boros. Like, do I play a third color? Anyway, so thanks guys for joining us. If you do like this content, if you want to support us, be sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe. It really helps us out. And hopefully, as we do get better, we'll be able to improve things like audio, the flow, and as we try to get our footing on this whole format. All right, so for today, I wanted to bring up this topic. We all know about our commander staples, right? There's Ristic Study, there's Dockside, Fierce Guardianship, all these things. And we all know that they make a deck better, right? If you run a Demonic Tutor, that's probably better than most of the cards that you are trying to not get, you know? But for one, these staples are super pricey. And two, when you're running them in these like lower power or mid power meta, it can sometimes feel like you're the jerk. Because why did you bring a Ristic Study? Why did you bring a gun to a knife fight, to a pencil fight, you know? So the prompt today is, what cards do you guys run in your decks as like alternative staples? Like you almost always run it if it's in your deck's colors. And as a bonus challenge, one, it needs to be budget friendly, and we'll define budget here as $5 and below. And two, it should not it should show up in less than 5% of EDH rec decks. This way, it's not so staply. We don't run into, well, I run Soul Ring.
It's a good card.
It's a good card, I heard. It's mana positive. So yeah, budget cards, perfect for a low to mid, maybe higher mid power pod that people should be playing more of. So I'll open the floor. TY or Noel, you wanna kick us off? What do you bring?
Sure. So, I do identify as black, as green, Golgari, and Timur. So it's like the non-white colors, opposite of Brother Bob. And a lot of my cards, I guess I'll kick off with removal. And I'm going to go with Witness Protection. I think that this card should be seeing a little more play. It's in 2% of eligible decks on EDH Rec, and it clocks in at 70 cents on cardkingdom.com.
Good
And
budget
it's an
choice.
enchantment aura. For 1 blue, you get to enchant a creature, and this enchanted creature loses all abilities, and is a green and white citizen creature with base power and toughness 1/1, and it's named Legitimate Business Person. And I think it's a really great card.
No,
It's like this 1 mana removal spells, and I know it comes in at sorcery speed, and there's that proactive versus reactive thing. So I guess on a positive spin, it does slot into being a proactive type of answer to things.
what, I'm curious, when you've
Yeah.
used this card, is it too slow? Like I know it's one mana value, but the sorcery speed seems like it really kills this, or something. No, or am I crazy for
I
me?
just find it that it's a fate worse than death. Like when you get to turn someone's commander into a legitimate business person, it's gonna be stuck on that for a while. And I know that's the drawback of not being at sorcery speed, but keeping someone down for pretty long and not being able to recast at will, I think that's pretty good.
I
And
see
it
what you mean
has
though.
a what you call it. Since it's a one, it becomes a one-one. It becomes easier to remove, and then it forces them to like either use a sat outlet or like it forces them to use a response action that they could use for later on in the game. So forcing an answer now, especially with if their commander is essential to their game plan, that seems like a good move. That you're using one of their bullets as early as now in their like responses. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I do like that it takes away the abilities. I think that's big. Because when you kill a commander, especially when you're up against like decks that ramp hard, the commander tax, they'll pay for it. If it's a low mana value commander, they'll pay for it. So in that sense, I see what you mean. You hose it in a way that's just going to be really hard to kill.
Mm-hmm.
It's practically a 1-1 unblockable because no one's going to want to...
No one's gonna trade for it.
No one's gonna...
Give your friend access back to it.
Yeah.
It does get around indestructible, which has been growing in the game. Hexproof is still a boss. Like you still can get around hexproof, but at least it gets around indestructible. And yeah, keeping those abilities out of play, pretty solid.
Pretty legit. All right.
Legit business person, legit.
Okay, 70 cents, you say? I think more people could run this as a good alternate removal spell. Might be more impactful on a game than like swords, even. I think. I don't know. I value. Huh?
And in blue.
And in blue. That's true. How does it match up? Sorry, one more thing before we move on to Bob's card. How does it match up against, let's say, like a rapid hybridization or some of these other blue staples that are pricier, probably played more? At least, I mean, if you've since you've played this witness protection.
Yeah, it's better on the price aspect for sure. And then in blue, there are multiple ways to get around indestructible in blue because you could also be bouncing and having like tempo type plays where you keep someone eternally a turn back on what they want to do. But like you said at the start, instead of running tutors in as a jank player, you tend to run redundancies and synergies more than consistency. So this is one of the redundancies I have in for dealing with spot removal.
Got it. All right, let's move on. Bob, what do you have for us as card number 1 for these janky should be staples?
So for my offering, it's also removal actually. I bring to the table Bounty Agent. So Bounty Agent is a 1 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier. Originally printed in one of the Return to Ravnica, if I recall correctly. Then it's a 2/2 with vigilance. Then it has a tap sacrifice Bounty Agent. Destroy target a legendary permanent that's an artifact, creature, or enchantment. So it's a 35-cent card on cardkingdom.com. It's played in 1% of all white decks. So I'm pretty sure it's budget. So I find it useful as a mono white player because it's a removal on a stick, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's a 2/2 body for 2, so it's an easy blocker early on in the game. And then it can answer a specific commander when the time calls for it. So I've had useful. It has paid off several times in several games in both of my Boros and or Mardu decks. Since it's also relevant typing is that it's a human and a soldier, So there are a lot of common themes that have that tribal aspect to it. So it fits in neatly into a lot of the white slice of the color pie, I would say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. I see what you mean. Human and soldier, I didn't realize that until you pointed it out. That's a pretty relevant archetype because you're running a lot of those, or they usually seem to matter, even
Yeah,
just incidentally. Human synergies or something like this. So I see what you mean, and it is good to just like snipe down a commander as early as turn two, because that'll make even I think the next guy be afraid to run their commander out first. Nobody wants to get shot by the bounty agent. Bounty agent. I thought it was bounty hunter.
Ain't that the story of life? No one wants to get shot.
It's not like you go first. You're just waiting for the guy. For the next player. Made them.
But yeah, it's very versatile. That third line, artifact, creature, or enchant.
Mm.
So not only the commander, or even a sneaky commander like a bridge that the five color
The prismatic bridge.
Prismatic
Sigma
bridge.
yeah.
I see what you mean.
It can
'Cause-
also it can incidentally because of it can also hit the backgrounds since those are also
Oh.
legendary enchantments. So it can help snipe that, and then particularly useful legendary enchant artifacts, I should say, like
Shuriken.
Yeah, Shuriken.
That guy's just impossible to remove. He's never a vehicle. He's never a creature.
It's never a creature, right? So this
Oh,
could
the
be one of the things that could stop it in case it shows up.
Huh. Wow, this card is better than I thought.
Yeah. It keeps the Transformers at bay.
Yeah, it gives the Transformers. All
And
right.
and it's a rattlesnake. It's in play. If you touch me, crack back.
Crack back. Immediate. Okay, I like it. All right. Moving on to my card. I am gonna put forth a colorless card. This is one of my favorites. I try to run this in as many decks as I do. And it's called Coveted Jewel. So it's a 6 mana value artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards. Then it can also tap for 3 mana. So it's a 6-drop, draws 3, a Black Lotus that's permanent. With the downside being, whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and it isn't blocked, that player draws 3 and they gain control of the jewel and they get to untap it. So essentially, it's like Super Monarch. I like it because it rewards aggro decks. Because aggro is hard enough sometimes as a win con to play. And this way, you kind of give gas to the table. I think it's super good in blink decks. I do love my blinks. Or copy decks, artifact decks. Right? Like, it's so good. And if you have a sacrifice deck, you could get the jewel. Someone's about to swing into you. You can just sacrifice it. Or you can make a friend. Politic your way. I'll let you hit me to draw 3, especially if you have to take down an arch enemy. Usually someone's pulling ahead. And if you're playing the coveted
Happens a
jewel,
lot,
that
yeah.
means your 6-drop is this thing rather than a bomb. So you're probably behind. Drawing 3, having 3 mana. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's super fun and it's like a super monarch. What do you guys think?
I like that. Super Monarch. Monarch is just one of those really, really good multiplayer mechanics that keeps the game moving, keeps everyone having access to what they need because you can draw the card advantage for everyone. 100 card decks needs all it can get.
Hmm.
I like it a lot. I've run it in my artifact deck, in my Lorehold deck, so I'm able to utilize it as a like doubling piece. Like, oh, we just want 1? How about have 2? Draw 6.
Man, I gotta get on this jewel train before it spikes. It's pretty nice. I mean,
It's $1 right now on Card Kingdom and 77 on TCG Player. 77 cents. Played in 1% of EDH rec decks. I think it's legit. It comes in precons, and people
it
always
comes
say
with
cut it.
Precons.
Yeah. When you I sometimes watch decks of other creators, And when they do Precon upgrades, it's always cut the jewel. It's the best. Don't cut the jewel. It's it's so good. No, I don't know.
Man, I gotta get me a jewel. It's looking good, yeah.
The draw thing,
Yeah,
man.
and moving the game forward, yeah, that helps a lot. And especially, it also provides a 3 mana, right? So it's a 3 mana rock.
Mm.
So it can provide, you can 2-for-1 with it effectively. Like you invest 6 and then you can pay 3 for your next spell.
Yeah.
So it's a +1, especially if you draw it off of the 3 cards you get.
Yeah. That
It keeps you ahead, and it also generates tempo for the whoever gets it.
that's true. That's true. All right. Coveted jewel. All right, Noel or TY. Why don't you hit us with that second card?
Okay, so my second card, this card, is 0% in 1 million eligible decks. It's from a part of, like, I guess, Magic game design where the Wizards was kind of not so balanced. Like, the game was weirder back in our day.
back in those days.
Back in those days. And another reason why, another background to this card is because, like, our limited background, where I love me a good combat trick. So, and then because we're jank, we don't really get 0 to cast spells. Like, they're not really on our menu, but this is a 0 to cast spell. There are a few 0 to cast spells in this Mercadian Mask and Prophecy block, and I'm going with Snag. So Snag is 3 in a green for an instant, and you may discard a forest from your hand instead of paying Snag's mana cost. And it does prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by unblocked creatures this turn. So basically, it's a fog for free, but you're like, fog is 1 to cast anyway. Why don't I just run fog?
Exactly.
Well, for one, this will trick you with you can cast this tapped out. You can discard a forest, which isn't such a steep price to pay. It's not so steep to hide in your hand another forest. And then the wording on this card: prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by unblocked creatures this turn. So you could set it up in such a way where you have an advantageous block, and everything else just gets fogged. So then the damage won't come through, and then so it's like a second.
Still happens.
The combat damage step happens with those who are still blocking,
Mm,
and you can stack that in such a way where it's advantageous for you,
right.
right? But then, like, on the floor, fog for free is pretty good.
Yeah.
You're getting the obscuring haze, which is the forgotten commander spell
Yeah,
of
in
the
that
Victoria
cycle.
cycle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
free
that's the
fog.
floors. I know that's around $3 these days. This snag is clocking in at 35 cents on cardkingdom.com. And then that's the floor, where it's like a fog. It buys you another turn at the end of
Right.
the game. And in the jank environment, if you're playing like casual or high-powered casual, where it's combat, still a bit combat-based around turn 6 to 8, this will buy you a turn. And then that's the floor. And then the ceiling, not much higher ceiling, but where you can like stack a block in your favor. And then this trump card adds to having like a removal.
Yeah. No, I see it. I see what you mean. Actually, fog effects are generally, I think, underplayed, but they're pretty good. Fog effects can blow someone out. Like, there's so many times where it's just like the attack is lethal, and
Mhm.
a fog effect would have saved you. And it's always like, ooh, good thing they don't run fog. It's actually sometimes why I run Aetherize, just to, just to get him. But I see, like, and the fact that it's free, you'll never suspect it, especially if your commander isn't out. Like, there's no obscuring haze. Or the board is so wide that it almost feels like it doesn't matter if you block profitably. You're gonna get them. So you definitely an underplayed card.
And yeah, the underplayed effect, I slip it in green decks. I slip it into maybe 2 color at most, just because it's a little harder to keep back a forest. If you have 3 colors enough.
Yeah, it's interesting then because it's free. It can be free with the forest, and then you can swing the tempo of the unfavorable block your way, or at least make it look unfavorable. Then also, you can also get the most important things is that combat damage still the regular combat damage still happens for the block creatures. So if you have like something with death touch or something bigger than their what they're using, like you have a Voltron Commandant, for example, you're able to get through, or at least trade with their biggest thing, and that they are forced to use their own saving actions for it as well.
Saving action, yes, that's what this is.
Save your
Saving
life.
action with it's a stunning reversal type of effect with chance of removal, mild, like a drizzle of removal.
Yeah, a slight chance of removal, but
Just a slight
bit.
maybe at a death touch, maybe your whole team gets to gang up on one guy. I don't know. All right, cool. Snag. I have not heard that card. I've forgotten that card exists. But Bob, let's move on to your second card.
Okay, so for my second card is a bit of a popular one, so to speak, because this was banned actually in other formats.
Oh.
I'm talking about.
Do tell.
This was uber powerful when it first came out, and then as over time, Commander format grew, and it kind of faded away from the other formats. It kind of became a useful player for me. So this is a Smuggler's Copter from Kaladesh. So it's a 2-mana artifact vehicle, 3/3 for a 3/3 with flying. It's crew 1, so it's a kind of easy body to drop and easy to crew. The important thing is whenever Smuggler's Copter attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So it's a very useful draw and discard engine. And as someone who has played mono white for the longest time, who has struggled with looking for all the card draw spells, this was
Back in the day.
This is one of the best finds to get because it's easy to crew. It's crew 1, and it's a 3/3 flyer. So this can deter either any flying blockers. It can be a deterrent for a flying commander, for example. It can provide value since it also either attacks or blocks. So that's when you get to draw and discard. So you get to thin your deck a little bit, and then depending on if you're using it as either to draw more cards or to fill your graveyard with relevant card types or cards, it's very useful. And 3/3 is nothing to sneeze at.
That is true. It's a great body at a great rate. 3/3 flying. And I don't know. I really value card selection. Actually, I know everybody loves card advantage, but I find card selection is almost just as good. Loot effects and things like this. Scry effects. Whenever you see somebody scry to the bottom, it's always like, dang it, they just got advantage because they were able to throw away something they didn't need. So yeah, this copter, I forget that this exists, but this is a really good card. Crew 1 is easy, and yeah.
Slots into Reanimators, slots into Threshold, Delirium, graveyard-based strategies, shenanigans can all benefit of the Copter, I think. And when you run those strategies, and if you're running Copter in that kind of strategy, Copter just becomes card advantage.
Yeah. Even it just smoothens the deck if you're like go wide, because you probably have an early 1/1, doesn't do much just yet. So it just like smoothens out your gameplay. Make sure you get the good draws that you need, hit the land drops that you need, make sure you never miss it. Yeah. Okay, I agree with this. I like this.
I forgot to mention it's about $1.29 on Card Kingdom. It's 66 cents on TCG Player. So then it's played in 1% of 2 million decks. Because it's a colorless artifact, so it can really go into
That's right.
every deck.
Right.
But still, with those strategies that play into the graveyard space, and but like he uses it as a second advantage thing. So
Yeah.
you got to be able to fill it. So this is one of the more efficient and cost-effective ways of doing it. Right?
Maybe I should play this in my Zephyrus deck. This is a way to loot.
Maybe.
Alright, it's a good card. I forget that it's been so long since Copter was released. It is
The
solid.
limelight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alright, for my next card, I have an Aura. 3 mana value Aura, but it's also a curse. So the curse cycle is one where you enchant a player, and this is the Curse of Verbosity. That whenever enchanted player is attacked, you draw a card. And each opponent attacking that player does the same. I find this really good, sneaky good. It's really hard to turn down card draw. And so
It is.
players,
It
players, like you see it in Edric decks, although Edric can get a little oppressive sometimes.
You
But
see it in Monarch. Everybody loves card draw.
yeah, I realized I unintentionally went for some theme here, but anyway. So yeah, this is kind of like Monarch again, the Monarchy, where you tag someone, and everybody will just go after them, even incidentally. And it draws you a lot of cards, potentially 3 over the course of a turn cycle. I find that it's been sneaky good, because it's just hard to deny the value that you'll get. Like, even if you're not the one casting the curse, you're just thinking, that's free value if I just go after that guy. The counterpart of this, which is a lot more popular, is Curse of Opulence, the red one. And I know that's 1 mana value that creates treasure or gold.
Treasures. Yeah, it gives you treasures for attacking the
The
enchanted
cursed player. Yeah, so this
Cursed,
is
yeah.
the card draw version, and I find like those are the 2 most important things to do in Commander. You ramp or you draw. So this one this one fills up the draw thing really well, I find.
Curse of Verbosity.
Yeah, and it's 35 cents. Played in 1% of decks. So I think this is underplayed. I think almost all decks should play this. Even if you're not an aggro deck, you're gonna find somebody who will. So like
deflect some attention away from you.
Yeah,
Like a Voltron
exactly.
deck could benefit from this, especially or if your deck has troubles with defense, with like keeping up with aggro decks. I think this would slot in pretty good.
yeah.
That would be like the additional sauce on top of your base of card advantage.
The unspoken
and it
propaganda.
incentivizes the other players. It incentivizes the other players to go that direction, and kind of distracts them. Like, oh look, go that way. No, don't look here. No, nothing happening here. Nothing whatsoever.
Exactly. It's as I was saying, it's the unspoken propaganda rule, because like nobody wants to pay 2, or in this case, nobody wants to passive card draw. So you do get that extra defensive benefit. At its floor, I think it'll draw you like a Phyrexian Arena, and Arena is played so much, over 10%, maybe like 13-15% of deck, something like this. I forget. This is cheaper. Budget-wise, it's only 35 cents, and it can do the same and even more without losing life, because someone will probably have a creature.
Friendly to multicolor decks too. You just need the 1 blue on that.
1 pip.
Mm-hmm.
All
And
right.
it's harder to remove because enchantment removal is kind of less,
Yeah.
more of a specific silver bullet. So it's more likely to generate probably more value over the game. Just that it doesn't do anything immediately when it's dropped, of course. But point is, the cards drawn from it over its lifespan is probably more than as compared to other effects.
Yeah, and even if you're behind, again, I always assume somebody else is the arch enemy. Assuming someone else is the arch enemy, this is a great way to help the table catch up. Because maybe you're in a casual pod, but somebody brought a mana crypt or something. And the whole table just needs to sort of gang up to try and catch up. This card draw will help the table and will hose the one pulling pretty far ahead, or if somebody just popped off, right?
Mm.
Anyway, we're 30 minutes in.
Alright.
Cool. I think we can do one last cycle. I know we had a lot of cards prep, but just conscious of time.
Yeah, let's run a cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, let's run one last cycle. So check out your list and make it your best one. It's time to go all in. This is
All
it.
right, I'll go with an obscure one, sure.
Okay. Go for it.
Alright, so like on the heels of y'all talking about like enchantment removal, I'm gonna go with one of these better wipes that I tend to slot these into my green decks. So this is Calming Verse. It's a sorcery for 4. It's 3 and a green. It's from Prophecy, so it's another one of those weird cards from back in the day. It's got this nice art from Rebecca Gay. It's just this calm lady in a garden, but it does work. Destroy all enchantments you don't control. Then if you control an untapped land, destroy all enchantments you control. So as jank players, you can just tap out, I mean, like, if you don't got to move, there's no point in hiding, just tap out.
Or you have a snag.
You have that snag. So give them the illusion. But hear me out. So like, even if you don't tap out, so let's say you do the Calming Verse, you can stagger it and cast your enchantment on your second main, or you just don't have the enchantments that your strategy just isn't built around enchantments, so you don't even have to tap out with this card. I think it's so good because there are so many games where there's a troublesome enchantment in play, whether it's the Smothering Tide, whether it's an aura on you or whatever. That legitimate business person, Calming Verse will help take care of that. Even if as a second spell where you end up tapping out, it'll work. So that's why I think it's a very flexible, asymmetric board wipe. And then that's the sauce on top, where like it's a wipe, it's removal, but then the fact that it can be asymmetric, easy, and on a common card, 35 cents, only in 2,000 out of an eligible 1 million plus decks on EDH Rec. I have seen it in the bargain bin, a few bargain bins around town. So if you're running green, and if you're in enchantment heavy meta, I think Calming Verse is a pretty good card.
Enchantments always ruin someone's day. Like there's so many good ones that destroying all of them is actually pretty relevant, sometimes even more relevant than a board wipe. I think there are some games where it's just like the creatures aren't the problem anymore. It's just that you can't get through somebody's pillow forting, something like this, or there's just some oppressive effect that's just really hard to get rid of. As mono black, like for a long time there was no non-enchantment removal. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, there was no non-creature removal for a long time. There were some really expensive artifact removal cards from way back when. So it's like, I know how like bad it can get against enchantments. Rakdos, similar problem. So I know this isn't green, but it's like, to have that and to just be able to destroy the ones that aren't yours is such a good effect. Because like, you probably are running your own broken enchantments, your Sterling Groves or whatever else.
Yeah, you're in, or the Wilderness Reclamation.
Wilderness Rec, the extra turn, essentially.
The fairish Seaborn,
yeah. So I like it. I like it a lot.
It's very useful, and it's such a niche card with great art. Love that Rebecca Gay call out. It's such a good piece, and it's very useful in that because there are a lot more relevant enchantments now. Like aside from the curses, there's also the sagas, and then the relevant auras. So, and also importantly, backgrounds as well. That also, especially if that's just like a sub commander, so you can kind of hit like maybe 25% of the time somebody's commander. So that turns off some of them, I would say. So that's very useful to have.
So yeah, if you're priced out of Bane of Progress, or if you're not in white has the good mass artifact and enchantment wipes. This is one of the better ones in green.
Got it. Good pick. Good pick. All right, Bob. What's your last card for us?
I think I went more with a safer pick and kind of something in my wheelhouse. Something that we're familiar with as people who experienced using the Precons. So this was a Precon staple. It was added in a lot of the previous ones. So it's Sandstone Oracle. This is a 7 to cast, 4/4 artifact creature Sphinx with flying. When it enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. If that player has more cards in hand than you, draw cards equal to the difference. So this provides very big refill, especially if you're like an aggro player, you've emptied out your hand, and it's to help you catch up. Or in instances like it's an artifact creature, so if you like in artifact creatures that reanimate, you're able to like draw back up, and also it helps target against the blue decks. All them blue decks who are running those spell books, the no maximum hand size,
Wizard class.
Like, the wizard class. You're like, oh look, you have 20 cards in hand. Oh, interesting. Then yeah, it's a 35-cent card on Card Kingdom. It's eligible it's only in 13,000 decks, so it's 1% of the 2 million decks that can use it. I understand it's 7 to cast, 7 generic, so it's a bit of a steep cost. However, the ability for it to draw you back up, to help you catch up, especially to like that one blue player who has run away with the game, or that green player who has run away with card draw as well, because green can do that too. Even the black player who's been making so many deals. It's never the red player, because it's never the white player.
But yeah, no, like don't get jaded with the mana cost, because 7 for a 4/4 flying body, right? And then to draw 4 cards is actually 6 mana, right? Like the most effects, opportunity cost 6 to get you 4 at instant speed. Then let's say dock 1 for sorcery speed. So you're getting 5 for the draw 4-ish, draw 3-ish, and then 2 for a flying 4/4. That's a good rate.
Yeah, actually, when you split it like that, the card does seem worth it because it seems like such a powerful effect to draw 3, draw 4. Usually the rate is 5 for 3 cards, something like this. So that means it's 2 for a 4/4 flyer. I just find that sometimes that the consistency on having the 7 mana available is tough. I don't know how it's been in your experience, Rob, but that's something that's always kept me back from this card. Or I don't know, how's it been for you running it?
Well, reaching 7, even though in either monocolored or Boros, not that big of an issue, but you're probably the last one getting to 7, in all honesty. Then it's also because it can be looted away, so you can reanimate it. So that's not also an issue. Also, because of the recent set, I believe, because of Brothers War, the Power Stones. Because the Power Stones are only usable for artifact spells.
Right.
Yeah, if you're able to generate enough of them with specific cards, you're able to turbo out one of these bigger or generic artifact spells.
That's right. Yeah, with the amount of cost reduction, doubling we have these days, it's not hard to. The floor is definitely raised on this card.
7 isn't as impossible to get to, especially in colorless, as it was 10 years ago.
5 years. Yeah,
5 years.
Even 5. Okay.
5 years ago.
5 years ago,
Even
yeah.
5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much, you're right, accelerated ways to get to 7, or like you said, reanimation. I can definitely see it. It's a really good card to refill your hand, especially once you've sort of discarded a whole bunch of them away. Especially if someone is drawing cards and you're just getting card selection. You're not gaining net cards, right? You're just choosing. So, yeah, for sure, I think this card gets even so much better if you can get it down on turn 5, turn 4. Big boost. All right. So my card.
What's yours?
Yeah, my last card.
Your last card.
I was sort of choosing between the two, but I ended up with this one. Again, I dipped my toes into the pool of card draw. So this is gonna be another card draw card. This, I don't know if you guys remember me playing this, but I've played this. I try to play this as much as I can. It's one of my favorite cards. It's not that budget. It's like $3, $3.50. So kind of opening the wallet a bit for a piece of cardboard. But it's a 4-mana value enchantment. It's called Psychic Possession. So in Psychic Possession, you skip your draw step. That's not great. But you enchant an opponent, and whenever the enchanted opponent draws a card, you may also draw a card. So I really like this because you let someone else do all the hard work. You will always draw a card. So I know you're skipping your draw step, but you draw on their draw step. So it's like you just kind of like have a delayed draw step, Necropotent style. But the good thing is if they run, let's say you're up against a Simic player or something like this.
I know. You're
right?
looking at the Tetyova guy.
Tetyova guy, right? They run Reconnaissance Mission. They run, I don't know what else. They're doing all the hard work, and you also get the benefit. It does mean, though, that you can't control when you draw. But I find that many players, especially if they like their value, they tend to overdraw. And so what's nice is you start your turn with all those cards. Rather than like, you did all your thing, drew, and then later you couldn't use them all, so you have to discard down to hand size, assuming you don't have a Reliquary Tower or anything. In this case, they did all that work. You enter your turn with like 9 or 8 or 10, 13 cards or something, because of how much work that they did. If they had a Smuggler's Copter, you don't need to discard, right? Right? If they had that Curse of Verbose that I was talking about, it's fine because they draw and you draw twice for attacking, something like that. If they had a Jewel, anybody steals the Jewel, like they get the Jewel, you get the draw 3 as well. So it's
look at this neat bow.
Yeah, I just really like it. It just makes your deck. You get to see so many more cards just because of having this Psychic Possession.
This scales up your deck. This is the perfect card in your knife deck to bring to that gunfight you keep on finding yourself in.
Yeah.
This is a great follow to a Rhystic Study play, to a Consecrated Sphinx play. The cards that are usually outside our wheelhouse, or for personal decision or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it scales up your deck. I like it. I mean, do you find that what happens in a triple knife fight? What happens in a quadruple knife fight? Who gets psychic possessed?
So actually, like when I play this, I tend to choose based on commander first, because some commanders are just value engines by themselves. Other than that, then you go by color, because green and blue, for me, are like the top colors in card draw. But even people who just run small card draw stuff like Sign in Blood or Knight's Whisper, some of these like low-end draw spells, they're not burst, but it's still really good value. You don't miss out too much. You're just drawing on their draw step. So the floor is very safe. It's just a delayed draw. And since you're in blue, you're probably running your own draw shenanigans. Maybe you have a Howling Mine, I don't know. Right? So you also get to sort of, it's not so group huggy, but you get to you still get to move forward undisturbed, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
It's not like you're hosing yourself out because it's like you have no more draw step, you'll never draw a
Yeah.
card again.
Yeah, it helps you latch on to the one in the lead, especially in terms of card draw.
Mm.
So it's like
Mm-mm.
you get to sling a hook onto them, and whoop, I'm also in the lead. Then it also, I think it's a bit more restrictive because it's 2 blue pips, but like, pretty useful. And as you mentioned, the like Howling Mine effects or the Font of Mythos, the stuff that encourages people to draw more. So if you run it with that, you're also generating the equal benefit for like the symmetrical draw bonuses. And then I'm sure there's more. Like I'm not sure if you want to run a forced fruition with it, but
No, you will die too. you know. Oh, but wait. No, this thing says you may draw a card.
Oh,
It's even better. You can't deck yourself.
With the breaks.
you can't deck yourself. Interesting. And you skip your draw step, so you avoid that losing condition.
Yeah, you survive the mill decks.
It's a good salt at the end.
Yeah, you may draw a card. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully you found that entertaining, useful, all that in a bag of chips. Again, if you could like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Hopefully you found this all really fun. We'll try to do more in the future. I know the audio quality isn't great. We did a test run and we just couldn't get it to work. But we'll get better as we do it. So this is, shall we say, our pilot run for this podcast. We'll come up with a name also soon. But thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.